Hi, everyone. I'm Elizabeth Canty, and this is another episode of Living Enlightened Every Day. I love to help people integrate spirit, mind, and body in order to live each day with that deep sense of purpose, passion, and fulfillment. And today I have with me Jooyun Hong, who loves to do the same, especially through a book that she co-authored entitled The Having, the Secret Art of Feeling and Growing Rich. Oh, it is an intriguing book and a transformational one as well. Stay tuned. I'm Elizabeth Canty, and I invite you right now to just sink in and listen from your whole being. Listen with the intention that you will remember something wonderful about you in this podcast, that you will find gold for yourself in this podcast, because I know that you will, as we discuss Jooyun Hong's book, The Having, the Secret Art of Feeling and Growing Rich, which she co-authored with the abundance guru, Suh Yoon Lee. So welcome, Jooyun. I'm so happy you're here. I'm so happy to be discussing the book that you co-authored, The Having, the Secret Art of Feeling and Growing Rich. The story in the book is so heartfelt, and it begins with that promise to your dad that changed your world and your life. The book opens with you talking about your family values around money and then your dad's passing. And the what struck me is that many of us inherit our family's money values and the way our family has dealt with or not dealt with money issues,
Mm-hmm.
financial abundance or financial stress. And after
Mm-hmm.
living that life so frugally, he wanted you to find the answer to living a rich life, an abundant life. And that began your search for how to be truly
Yes.
rich and truly abundant.
Yes.
But
Yes.
you had met Suh Yoon Lee many years earlier. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I was journalist for about 10 years. And then when I met Soyun, it's more than 10 years ago, I was writing an article to one of the top newspapers in Korea. And she was my interviewee. I heard about her from my journalist colleague, and then they describe her as a like very wise guru who mastered many Asian classics as well as Western studies at a young age. At that time, she was in her late 20s, so she was comparatively quite young as a guru, but they told me she started to study those subjects since she was 6 years old. And I was very intrigued by her story and I wanted to meet her. So I contacted her and then I arranged an interview for my newspaper. And then when I first met her, I still vividly remember how we met and the time we kind of have a conversation. And I still talk about that moment with her until now. And then I can I can easily tell she's very different kind of person. And I've met many, many different kind of people when I was a journalist, but she was very unique in terms of her insights and her brightness. And I haven't met those kind of person before. So I was very impressed by her wisdom and her insights. And then we kind of like kept in touch for a while, and then I lost in contact with her. Then several years later, after my father passed away, I sent an email to her, and then she replied to me.
Well, she made a prediction in that meeting. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, yes. So I didn't write it in the book, but she said when she first met me, she kind of knew that we have some kind of, so in Asian word there is a word called relate some kind of connection between people. It's made of Chinese characters, and then it means there's some connection between people, and then it can kind of bring people get together later. And
Hmm.
then she said she knew we'll meet again, and then we have some kind of deep connection between us. So at that time, she said we'll meet again when I kind of grow up more. And then, yeah, we talk about that until now. And then, yeah, she said she knew we have some kind of connection later in the future at that time.
Wow. And I love that the book is your story of meeting with her over a period of time, and then at the end of the book we learn that you realize that you're going to write a book about this and it is going to change
Yes.
people's lives.
Yes,
I,
yes. So it was kind of journey for me. I mean, I didn't mean to really write a book when I started to learn lesson about the having from her. But as I learn it more and more, I really feel that it really changed my life. And also, I want to spread this lesson to many people. And I was journalist, so I have that kind of blood in me to spread good news to many people and share this insight with many people. So I've decided to write this book and then publish the book globally. And then, yeah, my dream came true. It was published more than 20 countries so far, including US and South Korea and all other European and Asian countries. And we got many feedbacks and reactions and like touching emails from all over the world since we published the book.
yes, well, it has affected me so much. It's such a beautiful story. It is not a typical American how to get
Mm-hmm.
rich, things like
Mm-hmm.
that. It's very much about, and I love that you call her a guru. It's very much about
Mm-hmm.
being present in the moment,
Mm-hmm.
experiencing life.
Mm-hmm.
It's about being your authentic self.
Mm-hmm.
Not that you talk about those specifically, but that's how I felt it.
Mm-hmm.
Really experiencing the joy of life and loving life
Mm-hmm.
really releases or attracts, um, reveals is the word I'm looking
Mm-hmm.
for, the abundance that we are.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
you go into that a few times, but which we will get to. But I have to laugh because right in the very beginning, you write, and it's so it's just so vulnerable and cute. When you meet her, you just say, "How can I become rich?"
Yeah, I was quite direct because I was journalist, and then that was my main purpose to visit her. So I didn't want to go indirect route to ask that question. And then I just I just went direct, and then and then I didn't know anything. I mean, I didn't read any self-help type of book before I met her. So I was quite novice in this field. I didn't know like anything
Yeah.
about like knowing myself and learning about myself. And I was not the kind of person to reflect myself and who kind of make an effort to grow myself. I was not the kind of person. So I was almost like ignorant of any kind of knowledge. So I had to be direct to ask that question, and then throughout this journey, I could learn many beautiful lessons as you read from our book, including the concept of having, but also many different kind of, I think it's somewhat Asian values, but at the same time, it's kind of more universal values. That's why this book appealed to so many people in the world. I mean, we were South Korean, but she studied Eastern and Western studies at the same time. So she kind of merged those insights all together, and that's why people feel kind of peaceful and feel kind of joyful while they're reading this book. And then She kind of present those two different words value beautifully in the book and also combine it very well.
Yes, it was beautiful, and I do get the both the Eastern
Hmm.
sort of values that arise, but it definitely merges well with the with how we understand things in the West as well, especially anyone who's on a spiritual path or an integrative path, what I call integrating
Hmm.
spirit, mind, and body. There's a
Hmm.
holistic approach. And for
Hmm.
me, that is the most important. That's what my podcast is about, and my book and
Hmm.
everything else. It's
Hmm.
that holistic approach, because as you mentioned in the book too, people who just have money aren't necessarily happy. They aren't necessarily healthy. They aren't free from anxiety. They aren't free from problems. I mean, money isn't magical. It's something, but it isn't everything. And I love
Hmm.
how in the book you talk about this journey, but let's get right into having. It's such a beautiful concept. Would you like to
Hmm.
elaborate on how you first heard the words and you had to inquire a little more about that?
Yeah, so as you just described, I asked her like, how can I become rich? And then she said the answer is having. So I said having, Having, and then she said yes. And then the main concept is when you spend the money to feel what you have at the moment of spending money. So it was kind of like paradigm shift for me. So I actually asked back, I'm losing money when I spend the money. And how can I feel like abundance even when I spend the money? And then she kindly guided me step by step. And then how can I change my paradigm from like losing money to having money? So you have the money to spend right now when you spend the money. So you can feel the emotion of having money right now when you spend the money. Then later on, she explained to me why she developed the concept of having, because she said spending money is such a very common thing. It happened like several times a day,
Yeah.
and she kind of feel that that's another good practice for many people to practice the feeling of having what they have. Because you have to spend the money anyway. You have to buy the coffee, you have to buy grocery. It happened every day to everybody. So she think maybe it's the right time to practice the feeling of what you have when you spend the money. So it's kind of like easy habit, but it can change your mindset forever. I mean, you can just start practicing having, and then it's just so quick to change your paradigm in a short period of time. It took me like a couple of months in particular to change my emotions about money.
Well, and I love that there are practices in the book. There are things for us to do to help us change that paradigm about money. It isn't just a beautiful book and this beautiful story about this beautiful guru. I mean, it is, but there's very practical things for us to do and to recognize that we can change. But one of the things before we get, I love the idea of the notebook and the having journal and things like that. But before we get to that, when I was first reading early on, one of my first thoughts was this reminds me of gratitude. And
Mhm.
yet the nuance is there is a subtle nuance that isn't gratitude, and yet it isn't gratitude for what we don't have. In other words,
Mhm.
I'll let you dive into that.
Yeah, I mean, well, I talk with many readers from different countries, and then they told me it was actually hard for them to feel gratitude what for the things what they don't have. And sometimes when they practice like kind of law of attraction things, they have to imagine
Yeah.
like what they currently don't have. And then it was they said it was very hard for them to imagine like the feeling of having for the thing which doesn't exist right now. It's kind of imagination, and then they can feel that emotion vividly. But having, as you said, having is very practical. You can just feel what you have. You can feel the joy of what you have for the thing you have right now.
Yeah.
And then Soyeon said you can just start very small thing, a cup of coffee or just a small like any small stuff. I mean, if you have $1 to buy a coffee, and that's enough to practice having, and that's very good starting point. And any people, even though they don't have lots of money, they still have a single dollar to spend right now. And then she said, you can start practicing having with that single dollar you have right now. Just feel the joy of what you have, even though it's a single dollar, but still it's a big thing for you and me, right?
Absolutely. And I got goosebumps as you were talking because there is that thought in the law of attraction that we have to imagine what we don't have and imagine what it would feel like. But with having, it is seeing what is right in front of you, whether it's, the car that is old and not working great, but you have it. You have some,
That's the
or if you
car,
don't have
right?
the car, you have the bicycle. If you don't have the bicycle, you have the legs. If you don't have the
Mm-hmm.
legs, you have someone to train, the friend or the parent or the
Mm-hmm.
or the
Mm-hmm.
child, I mean
Mm-hmm.
like my adult child. So what's right in front of us, we can see and enjoy that having without trying to imagine anything different. And that I think
Mm-hmm.
is one of the things that was very powerful for me that I related to so much is
Mm-hmm.
living in the present moment with what is, not even having to imagine what's next or what's coming
Yes.
or what you wish for or want, just being
Mm-hmm.
with what is. You described it beautifully in the book in discovering how to live in the present moment. So Young and yourself experienced the fullness of living. And you talk about that so much in the book. You describe beautifully the scenes where you were eating or walking through the bamboo forest with the rain. And I think at one point you said, this doesn't cost anything.
Yes.
And you have many moments like that. Can you describe that simple joy of having?
Yeah. So as you just described, feeling what you have right now means you have to focus on the present moment right now, right? And then before I learned about having, I was thinking about my future, my past, and then what happened if I don't have this money? What happened? My bank, yeah, is running out of money. I kind of imagine all different kind of trivial things which may not happen in the future. And having means you have to focus on what you have right now to feel the joy of what you have.
Yeah.
So it is the moment you have to focus on, the present moment. So for me, actually, it was little, I felt it was little difficult to live in the moment before I learned the having. But after I learned having, I can just simply feel the joy of what I have. It is another like brilliant way to focus on the present moment and to feel the emotion of my present moment, and to live in the moment. So it's just so easy, just um, shift for me to bring me from all those worries and anxieties and all those like thoughts about my past and future to the present moment, to bring me back to present moment and to focus on and to live in the moment, to feel the feeling of what I feel right now. And this is the like a very positive feeling and kind of joyful emotion. So I can just stay in the moment what I feel having. Like I
Mm.
can just stay in that moment.
You said it so beautifully. It's like having brings us to the present moment, and the present moment brings us to this fullness of life that is always available.
Yes.
It's it's life flowing through us, but
Mhm.
sometimes we're so busy, and you graciously shared that in your stories about how you would think about the past, or think about, what would people think if I quit my job, or how would I support my son's education if I don't do this and this and this. Like, we get caught up in the thinking, and we can't be present to maybe your son's playing with toys on the floor right in front of you, and it's so joyful. We could be laughing with them, but we're busy, caught up in worry or anxiety. But being in that present moment, we can have the joy of
Mhm.
being with our son, or a good book, or the rain walking through the forest, whatever it is. I didn't think of it that way, but it's a beautiful practice of becoming present. Hmm.
Yeah, so when I practice having and learn the lesson, I realized that I spare my time to other people so much. For
Mm.
instance, like I was like like seeing my friends' Instagram, and then I was kind of, I felt kind of jealousy and all those kind of different like complex emotion, like seeing their photos and they all look happy and they look like happy with like spending money and they are like going to luxurious vacation, and then my feeling was not very comfortable to seeing those photos, even though I kind of liked those photos, but my feeling was not that comfortable. And then I realized I like spend so much time of like thinking about other people's life, as well as I kind of spend so much time uh, like caring about what other people think about me.
Yeah.
So I at that time I wanted to show like, good photo of me on my like Facebook that I'm like doing well and that kind of stuff. But when you practice having, you just need to focus on what you have right now, not what others have right now. So like naturally you can focus on yourself and your feeling. And you can just focus on what you have, your emotion, and your like present moment. So it is very
Mhm.
wonderful way to change my focus from outside to inside, and then I can like put myself as a center of my life.
Mm.
It was like big change for me after I practice having.
Beautiful. It sounds like self-love,
Yes,
you
yes,
at the center. And when we
yeah.
when we practice putting ourselves at the center, which I think as
Hmm.
moms and sometimes as women, we want to help others, fix others, I don't know, make it bigger than ourselves. But when we bring it back to ourselves, we have more
Yes.
to give, more to
Hmm.
share.
Hmm.
Beautiful.
And
That's
also, I felt that my emotion had been kind of uh, how can I say wasted to
mm,
many different things. But I realized my emotion is very precious asset for myself and to change my unconscious mind and to change my future. So I kind of cherish my emotion a little more, and then I can focus on my emotion a little more after I practice having as well.
and you talk about in the book that your emotions, feelings can really guide you. I loved when you talked about having versus wasting, and that your
Mm,
emotions, red light and green light, we can really tell
yes.
if we're off, if we're buying something, we're something other than the joy of having. And
Hmm.
can you? Can you describe that a little bit?
Yeah, so actually I was wondering when I first learned the having, if I practice having and I'm kind of enjoying like the feeling of spending money and I can kind of waste my money. That was my question. But Soyun kindly answered to me, you can just focus on your feeling. And then when you feel true joy, when you spend the money, that's the feeling of having. But
Mm,
when you have some kind of uncomfortable feeling when you spend the money, that's not the right action to take. This is not what you truly want. And then your mind kind of sends you the signal that it's not the right action to buy the thing right now. So as I focus on my emotion more, then the more I realize that I kind of refrain from like wasteful spending. So I realized that like my credit card payment is less than what it used to be because I didn't like make kind of impulsive spending after I practiced having because I realized that this is not the thing what I want, and I didn't feel comfortable when I try to spend those kind of thing when it's on sale or when it's not very necessary, but there's a kind of pressure, and then I realized I should not buy those kind of thing because it's not the thing what I like truly want.
we can relate to you so much in your stories because I think many of us fall into that trap of thinking that we need something new or better or different to
Mm-hmm.
feel good. So we try to find it on sale or we try to find it at where our friends shopped and they
Mm-hmm.
spent so much money on it. And we think, well, I'll treat myself to
Mm-hmm.
spending and I'll feel good the way they did. But if we're not paying attention, then we don't feel good as we buy it and we don't feel good
Mm-hmm.
as we wear that thing or as we present that whatever it is because we didn't buy it with that personal joy or that personal
Mhm.
freedom. When we wait until we know it's right, it will feel good. And even if
Yeah.
we spend more,
Yes, yes.
something we love. And then I've noticed in my life when I just pay attention and I wait, people compliment me. Oh, is that a new dress or are those new or did you get that new painting in your living room or something? And it's like, yes, but if I just bought something to fill the space, I would spend money, but no one would notice because it isn't important to me. It isn't beautiful
Mhm.
maybe to me.
Mhm.
So that's a beautiful quality of having of this book. It teaches us that.
Yeah, so before I practiced having, I kind of regretted so much after I spent the money, especially when I say the credit card statement. I kind of like more than half of them are the things which I don't really need, and then I regret it so much. And that kind of feeling kind of make me more like anxious about the money as well.
Yeah.
But after I practice having, I kind of I spend less on the thing which I don't want. And then I didn't have the kind of regretful feeling anymore when I see the credit card statement. And
Yeah.
then I can even like feel having once more when I see the credit card statement because I know I spent the money on the thing which I really want and which really make me happy.
Yes, it's a beautiful feeling. It's and it describes it perfectly. Having. It's just having. And there is gratitude in it as well, but not gratitude for what for something we have to imagine. It's for what is
Mhm.
right here, right now. I love
Mhm.
the having notes and recording how you practice having in a notebook. I thought that was very powerful to have a notebook with you and write down um, your thoughts about having, thoughts about spending, thoughts about
Mhm.
limitation. And there were, I think, two directives I have and I
Mm-hmm.
feel. I
Mm-hmm.
thought that was very powerful. Can you
Mm-hmm.
describe that practice? That's a very practical practice for us.
Yeah, so the having a journal is just simply writing down I have blah blah something, and then I feel describe my emotion. And then Soyeon said, when you write what you have, it's better to be more detailed.
Mm.
Then you can feel that emotion more vividly. So you can just say, I had coffee, but maybe it's better to say you had a like very tasteful coffee, like in the coffee place when you stop by on the way to go walk. And this kind of detailed expression kind of help you to feel that emotion more vividly, even after you spend the money.
I can see that even in that little description, to say that I had a coffee, that
Mm,
doesn't bring back any emotion or anything really, but to really describe the experience. And I just yesterday had a coffee with a friend, and it was a really fun experience. I tried
yeah.
something that I've never tried before, and the woman said, "Do you want to taste it?" And I said, "Sure." And it's like cold brew, and it's filled with nitro. And do you want cream on? I'm like, "Yeah, put some whipped cream." And so if I go back to that and to having and the whole experience, it's really joyful and beautiful. But if I said, "Oh, I went for a coffee," I wouldn't remember the experience.
Mm,
And
mm,
so I think that's a very powerful practice that we could all do.
yes.
And the other thing in the book that was a little it was very powerful is, how long will it take? You were
Mm-hmm.
very direct. You said, how long is this going to take me?
Yeah, I was very like direct because I can stand if it takes like several years or like like more than 3 years to change my perception, and that's too long for me. And then she said it can take 14 days to 100 days to change your brain synapse connection. And then yeah, I kind of felt it really changed my way of feeling and thinking. Maybe 1 month later or 2 months, within 2 months for sure.
Mm,
And then I didn't really like practice having that often every day because I spend like, for instance, I spend twice or 3 times a day to spend the money, maybe to buy a coffee in the morning, to buy lunch, and to buy some grocery back home, maybe 3 times, 2 or 3 times. But that was already enough for me to change my perception and my emotion toward the money. And then when I feel anxious about the money, if there's something happened, for instance, I got some kind of tax, like document just suddenly on my table, and then I felt like sudden anxious, like then at that time I kind of intentionally practice having little more. And
mm,
it returned my feeling to the like normal stage quite in a short time. Otherwise, it those kind of negative feeling kind of stay with me for at least 2 or 3 days or more. But I can just change the she said the muscle you can't use two muscle at the same time. So when you have positive feeling on your in your brain, then you can just feel positive thing. So when I felt some negative feeling toward money, I intentionally try to practice having little more often, and I try to feel that emotion. I try to stay in the present more. And it really bring back my emotion to the normal stage quite
mm.
quickly.
That's beautiful. Changing our negative emotions, recognizing them first, and then being
Hmm.
able to release them and allow that positive emotion to take its place and become permanent. become the new neural pathway. And I love that you bring that up in the book too, because now so many people are interested in the neural science, and it's important to many people to know that that
Mm-hmm.
is really what's happening. We are changing
Mm-hmm.
our neural pathways, and
Mm-hmm.
it's beauty. I love that you mentioned that in the book. One of my favorite things was the capacity for all of us to be wealthy or to be abundant. And
Mm-hmm.
you had written, and I guess Suh Yoon had said that we all have the capacity to be wealthy in the same way that we all have the capacity to be love. You know, we can
Yes,
be
yes.
love and loved and love
Mm-hmm.
and be wealthy and abundant as well. And it was so
Mm-hmm.
beautiful and to me so true. It's an
Mm-hmm.
inherent quality of being a spirit and human.
Yeah, so as I wrote in the book, Soyun kind of studied like 100,000 people's lives with their life data and how they lived, and then she studied also like fortunes and all those kind of luck study from East and Asian times. And then after she analyzed those data, she realized that most people spend less than 10% of their financial luck uh, throughout their lives. So most people have the capacity to at least to live not extremely wealthy, but have some kind of abundant life. Everybody has that kind of luck, but people don't use what they are destined to have the money what they are destined to have
Yeah.
because they don't know how to utilize their emotion about the money, and especially their negative emotion on money and what they have. It kind of dispel money from their lives. So yes, you're right, everybody has the capacity to be rich. Yeah, at the same time they have the capacity to be loved.
Yes. And that I relate to so much. I believe in that. And as you just said, when we accept, usually as a young child, we accept the limitations or the limiting beliefs around money. And one of them that we have in the West is the true saying is the love of money is the root of all evil. Most
Mm-hmm.
people forget and they say it is money that is the root of all evil. But in
Mm-hmm.
my personal opinion, it
Mm-hmm.
isn't even the love of money that is the root of all evil. It's greed and control and
Mm-hmm.
manipulation and,
Mm-hmm.
and the lack mentality that is the root of all evil.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we believe that we are in lack, then we're just depressed or we're contracted. Others believe because they're in lack that they have to get or take from someone else.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
so the love of money could be the love of abundance, the love of the abundance in the universe is opulent. It's everywhere. And you mentioned being in a bamboo forest. You know, bamboo is it just sprouts up and grows and you almost can't stop it. It's so abundant.
Mm-hmm.
Leaves on the trees and the blades of grass and the grains of sand and water and rain. It's all abundant. We can love
Mm-hmm.
abundant.
Mm-hmm.
So it's such a beautiful thing is loving the our capability, our ability to be wealthy and to
Yeah, I mean, S- Soyun just simply described that feeling what you have right now
Mm,
is such a pleasant feeling, and you don't have to feel guilty what you have right now. It's just pure pleasant feeling, and you can just feel joyful and grateful for what you have right now. It's a positive and pleasant feeling, and you can just enjoy that feeling and that emotion.
Yes, and you talk a lot about the feeling
Hmm.
along with the practice of having, there's the feeling and the emotion.
As I said, I was quite ignorant of my emotion. And then I didn't realize I felt that kind of negative emotion toward money for a long time. And then, as you just described at the beginning of this interview, it has some kind of root from my father's education because he was born around the time when the Korean War occurred, and the country itself was very poor, and many kids were starving at the moment. And then my father was one of those kids who had to starve right after the Korean War.
Mm.
So he had to be afraid of money because it was so painful for him, you know, like not being able to eat something when he felt hungry. So he kind of grew that feeling of um, being afraid of money and being anxious about money. And then he tried to educate me. I have to have the kind of feeling to be fearful of money. And then you don't have to spend the money. Money is not the thing you can spend. Money is the thing you have. You just store, but you shouldn't spend the money. That's the best way to survive in this world. But right before he passed away, he had pancreatic cancer, and then he knew he would pass away in a few weeks, and then he kind of asked me to change my way of living and then not to stick to what he had taught to me. And then he really want me to find a way to be wealthy in my generation. That's why I started to search for those wisdom
What
to
a
be rich.
Yes, and what a beautiful gift he gave you in that. Just
Hmm.
it's such a powerful gift, and he could see that in his life and wanted something more for you, and then
Hmm.
you've given us that gift of your discoveries.
Yes.
Really beautiful.
Yeah. So I think in a way it's my father's gift for me to learn having and to live in more abundant life in terms of money, but as well as like mentally, I feel more fulfilled and abundant, and I kind of feel that I live as my true self right now. So I think it's all like my father's gift to me.
Yes. I love that having suggests that we only have to feel what we have and what we can afford, and we don't have to imagine what we don't have. We don't have to imagine what that would feel like. We don't have to act as if we had something different. We
Mhm.
can just be with that feeling of having. It sounds too simple to some of
Mhm.
us. Is it as
Too
simple?
simple, but very powerful.
Yeah.
I can guarantee.
So it has changed your life. In the book you described that you've quit your job and wrote this book. The book I know has been very successful.
Yeah, so it really changed my life in different ways. Firstly, it changed my perception and emotion toward the money. So I feel more comfortable with the money, a lot more comfortable with the money, and my feeling toward money is more positive right now. So I can teach that lesson to my son as well.
Mm.
So when he's like debating whether he has to spend the money or not, I can tell him you have to focus on your feeling. And if you really want something, then you can enjoy the feeling of spending money. And then there's money, plenty of money in the world, but you don't have to buy the thing which you don't want. so I can teach those lessons to my son. And then also, as I teach those lessons, I can also stay in that moment and practice having as well. So it changed my paradigm toward the money, and secondly, it kind of helped me to stay in the moment, to focus on my feeling, and then focus on what I really want. So before that, I kind of look around the people around me and like Instagram, all those kind of Facebook, all those kind of stuff. So I didn't really have time to focus on my emotion, and I didn't really care about what I really want.
Mm,
I just had pressure to do something just as my social role as a like employee for the company, as a mother or like as a wife, etc. But after I practice having, I can focus on my feeling more, and then I realize I want to pursue different career path. So that's why I quit my job as an employee for the company, but I kind of decided to work by myself. And then, yeah, the book has been very successful. It was the most sold book throughout the year in Korea in 2020. And also, we got still a lot of emails like from all over the world. It's such a very precious experience for me. And then also, we kind of, prepare some the next project on my own. So it's very fulfilling journey for me to walk on the path which I didn't take before.
mm,
So it permanently changed my life. And then lastly, it kind of really changed my happiness, I would say. I feel more happy. I feel like happier, a lot happier, and my kind of feeling is mostly positive. And I didn't realize my feeling was leaning toward negative before. I didn't really even realize because I was worrying about so many things about money and my future, and I didn't like the job, but I had to stand. But now my overall feeling is very positive and happy and joyful, and it really helped me to be more efficient in doing my work and also enjoying the work what I'm doing right now. So it really permanently changed my life in different ways.
and I can see as you're describing how it changed you, if we, the listeners, the readers, if we practice and really bring this practice into our lives, I can definitely imagine it changing all of our
Hmm.
lives. It's changed my life in the short time since I've read the book. Definitely. And as you were speaking, I also realized that one of the things I love about this book is that for me, it's also a book about joy. It's
Hmm.
and joy, I feel like, is my natural expression of what you might say my authentic expression is more joyful. Some
Hmm.
might be peaceful, some might be
Hmm.
organized, all the different qualities, but mine is
Hmm.
joy. And as you
Hmm.
said, you're more happy when we
Hmm.
release those those feelings of lack and limitation. The joy just bubbles up, the freedom
Hmm.
bubbles up, the excitement of the unknown can bubble up. But when we're afraid of the unknown, we stay afraid. But releasing those fears and being in that present moment allows
Hmm.
that beautiful joy to come.
Hmm.
Oh, you said you were working on another project. Is that
Oh yes, Soid and I are writing the next book right now. So yes, we have a plan to publish the book. Maybe this time we'll publish the book in Korea first, but we will publish the book globally as well. And the topic is different from having. So, and then I think this book is more interesting than the having.
what? There's nothing
So
more
if we have
interesting.
English version, I'll send it to you. But
Uh,
it hasn't been published. We are writing it right now, and then it'll be published, I think, probably at the end of this year.
okay.
And then yeah, it's also great learning experience for me to write a second book.
Yes. One more thing I want to tell the listeners is that I actually listened to the book on Audible. Some
Mm-hmm.
people know that I really enjoy listening and just sitting with my eyes closed and my coffee, and the narrator of the book just did such a beautiful job. And so your
Mm-hmm.
stories really came to life for me,
Mm-hmm.
and the stories in the book are so beautiful. The examples in the book are beautiful. It's just a beautiful way to experience the book that I hope whether you read it or whether you get the book on Audible, it is an experience, a transformative experience going through the book with you. And we can feel how you began, and there was a middle with Suh Yoon, and there's an end. And for us, it's the same way. We're walking with you on your journey. So I love the way you write and that you tell your story. So I can't wait for the next book to come out.
Yes.
Definitely, please send it to me or let me know when it's available. In
Yeah, the
English.
next book is about anxiety, how
Oh,
to deal with anxiety.
that's beautiful. It's so prevalent, as we discussed even today, and it's part of your book too, is releasing
Mm-hmm.
underneath the anxiety is that joy just waiting to come up, and peace.
Mm-hmm.
It's just waiting, because that is our true nature, joy and peace. But
Mm-hmm.
that anxiety sometimes too is what we learn from either our culture or our parents or the society that we're in. It's the
Mm-hmm.
you said the pressure, you felt pressure. And
Mm-hmm.
can't wait. That's going to be great. Well, thank you so much for joining me today and sharing more about this incredible book, The Having, The Secret Art of Feeling and Growing Rich. It's obviously available on Amazon for our readers. I'll put the notes in on YouTube and on the show notes. And it's in many languages, I think. And
Over 20 languages. I can't really count. Over 20 languages. So it's available in most European countries and most Asian countries.
oh, beautiful, beautiful. And it's unique. So I
Mm.
want people to hear that it is very unique and very special, which is why I'm just so grateful for you to join me. So I invite our viewers, if you liked this video, please hit the like button, hit the share button. Maybe your friend, someone you know, your family is ready to experience the joy of having rather than the anxiety of spending. It's life-changing. And if you want more information on Jooyun or Suh Yoon or the book, The Having, it'll be in the show notes. But do you have a website, Jooyun?
So there's a Soyun's website and then also Soyun's Instagram. So you can follow her Instagram and you can see her insights in English. It's all in English. So
I've seen it. It's
yeah,
beautifully done.
yeah,
I'll put that
yeah.
in the notes as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, as always, I invite our viewers to laugh, love, and live enlightened, and live in having all week. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you.